Are you ready to find out where you're from and use that information to get in the best shape of your life? Stay tuned. Welcome to Eat Your DNA. Join me as I start my healthy eating journey based on my DNA and ancestry. My name is Angela, and my philosophy is that our DNA is our personalized blueprint to healthier living. If you've ever struggled to figure out which foods to eat, you're in the right place. You can stop guessing and worrying about what to eat or trying to follow the latest fad diet. Let your genetics tell you which food you should eat. Eat your DNA. Okay, let's do it. You want to get your DNA tested, but you're having trouble figuring out which of the myriad of DNA tests are the best. It's understandable. There are a lot of DNA tests out there. Today, I'm super excited because I'm going to share with you the top 3 DNA tests in 2024. And make sure to stay to the end where I'll give you a couple of things to look out for, kind of like warnings, not that serious, but kind of like warnings when it comes to DNA testing companies. At Eat Your DNA, we're trying to find out where we're from, our countries of origin, so that we can use that information to eat the foods that are best for our bodies. The only surefire way to find your countries of origin is to take a DNA test. But Angela, you're saying, I already know my countries of origin. I'm from this place on my father's side, and I'm on this place on my mother's side, and I don't really need to take a DNA test. I've got news for you. You might not know everything. Your parents might not have been told everything. Families have secrets. Information gets hidden, forgotten, or misremembered. People who you thought were direct ancestors turned out they were adopted. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of stories about people getting their DNA done and discovering things about themselves and their families that they had no idea about. Don't chance it. Take the test. It's the surefire way to find out where you're from so we can begin to incorporate those healthy foods into a healthy eating lifestyle. I've done another video in which I looked at the best DNA tests based on price. So if you're only interested in the price of DNA tests, you should check out that video, which will be linked below. For this video, we're looking at countries of origin. It's the main purpose of getting a DNA test, to find out where we're from so we can eat foods indigenous to those areas. There are a lot of DNA tests out there that can tell you a lot of other things, but we're not interested in family trees or relative finders to help us determine paternity or to locate siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandparents. We're not even interested in your dog's DNA, although that is fascinating. And although it can be quite useful, we don't need all of the health information and markers that many DNA tests can provide. I'm not saying that this stuff isn't important or useful. What I'm saying is that for our purposes, once again, finding our countries of origin so we can eat indigenous foods to those areas, we need to look at 3 things, which I have researched for this video. So let's do it. So the first thing is simplicity. Is the test easy to take? If it's difficult or weird, I'm not gonna do it. Number 2, accuracy. Is the DNA test able to pinpoint where I'm from? Once again, countries of origin. And number 3, reputation and review. How do people that have used a company's DNA test feel about the experience? And you know, this is important. If you don't think reviews are crucial in purchasing, ask Amazon.com about their customer rating system and if it is helpful. Okay, this is also a good time to mention that DNA science is continually improving. The more people that take DNA tests, the bigger the pool and the better and more accurate the results will be. For example, in less than a year, my country of origin percentages have changed just a small bit with AncestryDNA. That tells me that AncestryDNA is a company that is constantly updating and refining their database. We'll talk about them. Finally, with all that out of the way, let's get to the top 3 DNA tests for 2024. We're gonna start with number 3, MyHeritage. So, how simple is MyHeritage? It's pretty simple. First, you order your kit, and once it arrives, you create a free account via Google or with your email, and then you just send in your DNA. It takes 2 minutes to swab your cheeks, each cheek, put them in 2 vials, and you mail it in. You do have to pay for postage, which seemed odd to me as most other DNA testing companies use a prepaid shipping package, but what are you gonna do? It's super easy and there are illustrated instructions if you need them. Finally, once the MyHeritage lab receives your samples, it takes about 3 to 4 weeks to get your DNA results. Super, super simple. I know I said this video is not about pricing, but I have to mention that MyHeritage is quite reasonably priced, notwithstanding the postage issue I mentioned a little while ago. It's right on their website. They say, the highest technological standards meet the most affordable price on the market. Speaking of technology, what about MyHeritage's accuracy? Well, MyHeritage has a database of 7.8 million people, and for our purposes, finding out where we're from, MyHeritage does everything we need. Here's also what they say on their website. Your origins are encoded in your DNA and enable us to pinpoint where in the world your ancestors came from. Your DNA results will include an ethnicity breakdown and identify the specific groups you descend from among 2,114 geographic regions. One thing that MyHeritage has that I've seen nowhere else is ethnicities around the world. MyHeritage has collected DNA data from people around the world, and using this feature, you can explore the most common ethnicities in different countries and the top countries for each ethnicity. I will admit that for many African countries, there isn't enough data to determine exact ethnicity amounts, but I still found this feature fascinating. I could spend hours looking at countries and ethnicities. You know what I learned from looking at the country of Algeria? That 45.5% of Algerians have Italian heritage, 11.5% Sardinian heritage, among others. That doesn't add up to 100% if you're doing the math, but it's just fascinating. Finally, what about MyHeritage's review and reputation? Many people join MyHeritage because of their extensive historical records database. If you're researching your family tree, this is like exactly what you want. In terms of what we're after, pinpointing our countries of origin, some people complain that the percentages are broad strokes, like they're looking at regions as opposed to pinpointed specific countries. They say it's not as accurate as other similar DNA testing products. What you get is not bad for the money, and you can definitely use what you get to find indigenous foods based on your DNA. So taking all of this into consideration, MyHeritage is number 3 on our list. Okay, let's talk about number 2, 23andMe. Simplicity. 23andMe is super simple. I love the way they put it on their website. They say, order, spit, discover. To order, you just choose one of their kits and it should ship to you within 1 to 2 business days. I recommend the most inexpensive kit because you will get your countries of origin with that one. That's what we need, right? When it arrives, all you have to do is spit it to a collection tube and mail it back. By the way, when I took my first DNA test, I thought I was gonna have to come up with like this big old glob of saliva. I know it's gross, but it turns out it's really not that much. You just kind of spit in a little tube. Within 3 to 4 weeks, you'll receive an email with your DNA results and countries of origin. Order, spit, discover. I just love it, super easy. Let's talk about accuracy. Here's what 23andMe says. 23andMe has rigorous standards that ensure high-quality results. Our team of scientists and medical experts uses a robust process to develop genetic reports for our customers. Our genetic health risk and carrier status reports meet FDA requirements. The 23andMe Ancestry Composition Report provides an estimate of your ancestry breakdown by comparing your DNA to the DNA of more than 14,000 people from around the world to help you uncover clues about where your ancestors may have lived. With one of the largest reference data sets in the world, 23andMe provides customers with one of the most detailed and accurate ancestry breakdowns on the market. That's pretty accurate, right? Now let's look at what people say about 23andMe. They have 3,662 reviews with an average review being 4.1 out of 5 stars. That's 79% of reviewers recommend this product. One thing I noticed is that the reviews that were lower, like 0 to 2 stars, came from people that had been looking for health advice, ancestral travel data, relative matches, some of those extra things I was talking about. Remember, at Eat Your DNA, we want to know our countries of origin, where our ancestors came from, and people are quite pleased with 23andMe on that front. All right, ready for number 1? It's AncestryDNA. Is it simple? There's really only 2 steps. This is the first DNA test I ever took, and I'm here to say the entire process was definitely easy, definitely simple. Step 1, you buy a kit and activate it online. And you really have to do this if you want to get your results. And activating means just creating an account, just like everywhere else. Step 2, spit in a tube, shake it, and mail it in. They will email you when your results are ready, and if you set up your kit online in step 1, you're just waiting for it to come as an email. I got my results in less than 2 weeks. It's a comprehensive ancestry report that includes the percentage breakdown of your unique genetic composition in different ethnic groups organized by geographical location. Fancy way of just saying your countries of origin. And that's exactly what we want, right? So what about accuracy? There are 2 reasons why AncestryDNA has such a stellar reputation for accuracy. The first being that AncestryDNA has the largest database of all the consumer DNA testing companies. So you know where your ancestors likely came from, what what ethnic groups you likely hail from and who you may be related to, as long as they're in the database. So more people in the world have used AncestryDNA than anywhere else. And because of this huge database, AncestryDNA doesn't just tell you which countries you're from, but also can pinpoint the specific regions within them, giving you, insightful geographic details about your history. And like I was saying earlier, as more customers from more parts of the world participate in these tests, both the ethnicity estimate and matching results will also get better and better. Secondly, AncestryDNA's testing process is cutting edge, and the accuracy and precision of each step is measured independently. What this means is that once they have your DNA sample, it's measured or read in the lab and turned into raw data, and the raw data is then analyzed to generate your AncestryDNA results. Only the genetic markers that meet the requirements for analysis are kept, which helps minimize possible deviations and generates accurate results. As I said, this is the first DNA test I ever took, and while I don't have a lab and I cannot say with 100% certainty that the results are 100% accurate, I do believe that they are as close to accurate as possible. And I feel good about it. Periodically, as I mentioned, I receive updates about my countries of origin breakdown, which tells me that the company is constantly growing and updating their database to provide the most accurate results. They ain't playing with all this science, which I think also explains why they fare so well in the last category, reputation and review. With its huge database, people get a lot from AncestryDNA. The DNA tests give people the information, whether that's countries of origin or extended relatives, that they're after. Some people complain that the results can take longer than expected, up to 8 weeks to get back to them, but I got my results pretty quickly. So how did one site say it? While AncestryDNA is not known for the quickest turnaround time in delivering DNA results, the depth and breadth of information provided are what sets it apart. And that's the reason why AncestryDNA is my #1 DNA test in 2024. Now, before we get to those warnings I said I would tell you about, I have a bonus DNA test, an honorable mention, if you will, and that's GenoPalate. Now, if you've spent any time on the Eat Your DNA channel or website, you know that I love GenoPalate. I've done an entire video on its app, which is amazing. GenoPalate can tell you all sorts of things about your health and what they call essential nutrition. What makes GenoPalate different is that they use your DNA to determine your optimal foods. This is a list of foods that are best for you based on your DNA. It's amazing, I love it, and I recommend getting it because that list plus the foods based on your countries of origin, chef's kiss, right? You'll have everything you need to start eating your DNA. But as I said earlier at the beginning of this video, what we're doing here in this video is rating companies based on countries of origin, which you don't really get from GenoPalate. To get what GenoPalate offers, you can send them your DNA with a quick cheek swab, or you can upload your DNA results from 23andMe and AncestryDNA. We're talking about your optimal foods list and essential nutrition report, among other things. That's what I did, and I got my results emailed to me super fast. It was less than a week. What's important to note here is that GenoPalate will only accept raw genetic data files from 23andMe or AncestryDNA because most companies do not provide a comprehensive genetic data set. Their analysis requires extensive data sets due to the numerous genetic markers they examine to generate insightful nutritional recommendations. This is another indication of how AncestryDNA and 23andMe are such phenomenal and well-respected companies, and why I found them to be 2 out of the 3 best DNA tests in 2024. Still, like I said, as much as I love GenoPalate, you aren't getting your countries of origin. Yes, you will have a list of optimal foods and a lot of critical health information, but we really want our countries of origin. So for this list, it's an honorable mention. My recommendation is to get your DNA tested with AncestryDNA or 23andMe first, and then send those results to GenoPalate. You'll have everything you need to find the foods based on your DNA. At the beginning of this video, I promised to warn you about some things. There are a lot of DNA testing companies out there, and naturally you may be wondering about them. My criteria in choosing the best DNA testing companies were simplicity, accuracy, and reputation, with the focus of pinpointing our countries of origin. I do want you to watch out for companies that may not have an extensive database and cannot give you accurate country of origin results. I'm not picking on them, I'm just using them as an example. For instance, Family Tree DNA does not have really high reviews, and I think it's because they have several European ethnicities but it seems that the reference populations are lacking for people that have family members from other parts of the world, such as Native American, Asian, or African. If you have ancestry from those places, you could be missing a lot of critical information. Both 23andMe and AncestryDNA score much higher marks for the genealogical services. Another thing I want to warn you about is choosing a DNA testing company whose main focus is on health markers. A DNA testing company such as TellMeGen, which is an autosomal DNA testing and DNA analysis company, provides customers with information regarding their genetic health and connects clients with customized genetic services. These services include genetic counseling, nutritional counseling, and medical consultations with real doctors and geneticists. If this is what you want, great. But if you simply want to know your countries of origin, this can be overkill, expensive overkill. Now, TellMeGen reports can tell individuals their relationship to 74 ethnic groups spread across 8 broad geographical areas, so you will get a list of your countries of origin, but the results just cannot be as broad as AncestryDNA or 23andMe. But look, if you've gotten your DNA tested with a company other than the ones that I've reviewed here and you're happy with the results, meaning that you're confident about your countries of origin, use what you have. It's a start. Let's just eat our DNA. It's time to get started. So now that you know how these DNA tests rate in simplicity, accuracy, and reputation, it's time to take one. You can find links below to all the websites I mentioned and even Amazon if you prefer that. And if you use one of the links or my code, I may receive a small amount. It helps my channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. In fact, using my referral code might save you a little bit of money. Regardless, thank you. If you learned something new, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you want to keep learning, please subscribe. You know, I absolutely love knowing where I'm from and which foods I should be eating. And that's what I want for you, to be excited about your ancestry and learning about the best foods for your body. It's fun and kind of liberating. Finally, last thing, be sure to visit eatyourdna.com so you can get a checklist of what to do while you wait for your DNA results. It's good information whether or not you're getting a DNA test, and it's totally free. Remember, eat your DNA.